Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Look, up in the sky, it's a bird brain, it's a plane, it's iWalter. Yes, it's iWalter, strange visitor from another planet who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. iWalter, who can change the course of mighty rivers, bend ears with his annoying voice, and who disguised as Walter Interranti, mild-mannered janitor for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth, nonsense, and the American way. And now, another exciting episode in the adventures of iWalter.
All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to my show, known as iWalter. I say this every week. I did not want to do a show. I'm just tired. I had to set my alarm because I was up all Friday. When I got home from work Friday night, I was up pretty late and really didn't have any energy. So, because I had to get up, I had to set my alarm for 9:30 or something because I needed to drop the car off to get inspected. So, I went back to bed for a few hours. Thank God my folks helped me out with that. So anyway, hopefully everybody can hear me. I didn't realize I was speaking not into the mic. So I sometimes come up, and it's November 10th. This year has just gone. Every year just seems to, it's true. When you get older, it just seems like time accelerates. But I'm going to call this show, by the way, tonight, just in case anybody is interested, of the two folks who listen to me, meaning myself and Matt. I did find, part of the reason was I found a couple stories during the week. There's always stuff to complain about in my everyday life as well. So one thing Matt brought to my attention, I was wondering, it was kind of really weird, was I watched this film about a week or so ago called Dracula 3D, because I've been buying a lot of these 3D films to view them on my PlayStation 4 VR, and it looks incredible. So that was one of them, but it was Dario Argento, I believe is the way you say his name, and I told Matt, I left a couple messages for different people, I just found it a little bit odd or kind of weird why he would have his daughter, he has a daughter named Asia Argento, in the leading role completely nude. I felt that was a little bit inappropriate for a director to have your own daughter in a film and then have her basically pretty much practically head to toe nude. I mean, I hope most people would see that. Probably not nowadays, because everything is. So anyway, this Asia Argento, she was part of the Me Too movement. She is, in case folks don't know, just for some strange reason, I would get somebody from overseas. It's happened on occasions where I get folks overseas that kind of tune in and who's this guy? Probably don't listen to me more than 5 seconds. But she is is a Italian actress, and she's was cute. I can't say that any longer. After she basically tattooed her chest completely across in her arms and everything else, probably at this point. But I'm not a big fan of that stuff. So anyway, friend Matt told me that, you know what? She was part of the Me Too movement, and she got caught for having sex with an underage kid. And in fact, it was a kid in one of her films she acted in. She's not in very many films. And it was the way he kind of described it at first. It sounded like she first met him when he was 7 years old, the actor. And it's funny because his last name is Bennett, so I'm thinking of Tony Bennett, but it's not. Yeah, I actually pulled up a couple stories. I'm going to have to find out that guy's last name. Jimmy Bennett. His name's Jimmy Bennett. And the guy speaks out now. He's 21, I believe. I don't know how old these stories are, but at the time that she actually, quote-unquote, according to him, sexually assaulted him was when he was 17. and it could even went further back, or even to the time after, he had aged past the age of 17, and she basically made sexual advance movements, had sex with the guy, and he wasn't consensual at the age of 17, which was in California, which is illegal. Now, very well that Matt or no, I'm going to go with this. If the shoe was on the other foot, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. In fact, no, it would be a big deal. I apologize. It would be a big deal, which kind of surprises me with this one, because generally, if it's a woman having sex with an underage kid, even like a 12 and 13-year-old, most of the time, we live in a, at least with the media shows us, because I'll make that noted now. Generally, that's like a pat on the back. Why are guys making a big deal out of that? Why are people making such a big deal of it? I wish my teacher or elder would basically make sexual advances to me. That's all I ever hear, and to me, it's obviously it's quite disturbing that people actually think that way, because it's all right for an older woman to have consensual sex with a minor, but it is absolutely no way in hell is it okay for a man to have sex with an underage girl. So is it a double standard? Well, absolutely. Now, I'm not saying, absolutely, yeah. Two wrongs do not make a right, but in some people's minds, one is okay and the other one isn't. That's what bothers me. And I'm not trying to single out because Matt or say, well, you know what? I don't think that way, and I don't comment that way. It's like, dude, I'm not trying to single you out. I'm singling everyone else out that will make comments like that. So you know what? I'll tell you what. For those folks who think that way, if you have a daughter, a young, did I say that right? Daughter, and she's really hot, and she's like 15, 16 years old, just send her my way, and I'm just saying this because I know what the reaction is going to be. Well, you should go to jail. Well, that's not right. You should know better. What I'm going to say, I'm kind of jumping around. But the bottom line is, before I even finish my sentence, I know this is what would happen to me if I said this to Matt's face or somebody else's. Right away, right from wrong. But then when the shoe is on the other foot, all of a sudden, it's okay. So just remember, you should practice what you preach. If you are a family member or an adult who has kids, and you have like a 13, 14-year-old daughter, and, she is really attractive, just remember that if you say it's okay for an older woman of 30-some years old to have sex with an underage boy, then you're basically telling me that it's okay for an older guy to have sex with your daughter. So, and I know where that's going to go. If I actually did get a physical response back, it would be quite probably negative, like, well, you're sick. Well, so are you, basically, because I'm not saying I would do that. I am just saying that just to ruffle your feathers and see what I see when you say it's okay for a grown woman to have sex with a younger underage girl. And I don't want to hear all that nonsense. Well, girls mature faster, boys mature faster, or whatever nonsense you're going to try to pull my way, because you know what? I don't believe it. Because that's what kind of nonsense I'll end up hearing. So anyway, I didn't want to go this far with this. It's almost been 10 minutes, which surprisingly, I'm surprised I got 10 minutes out of this issue, because it's like a lot of videos on this. So, Asha, I think it's not, it looks like Asia, but it's actually Asha Argento. She basically is part of the Me Too movement against, what do you call it, who just, quote unquote, wink, wink, committed suicide. Because that's all I've been seeing on Facebook. Oh, he did not commit suicide. I saw it in one of these, things. The whole Me Too movement is against, here he is, Harvey Weinstein, pretty much. Well, not everything is, but a big, large part of it is, especially the Hollywood people, are these people who just can't stand Harvey Weinstein. And I hate to tell you, they're really big hypocrites. That's the problem, again, that I do have with this whole thing. You got to practice what you preach, and a lot of people do not do that. That's my issue. If you're going to say you can't do this, that, or other thing, and it's almost like the presidential election with Trump. I remember the night of the election, I was prepared. I was actually prepared that once again, I lost election, not me personally, but I lost election that I did not get the results I wanted. And I was prepared for that. Because the whole night, all I ever heard were people being interviewed or these newscasters saying, well, you know what's going to happen once Trump loses? You're going to have all these spoiled sports and crybabies wondering why they did not win. And then when it came to midnight or after that, the night of the election in 2016, and it did not, it was actually everything that they said we were going to do, which, I'm used to it. We lost this election just happened on Tuesday of this week. We lost a lot of different states on governor and things like that. I'm not going to go into great detail about that. But do you see us holding up Me Too signs or protesting signs that we just want to put these Democrats who had won these different positions on, hanging from trees or burning their houses or stuff like that? No, it's none of that stuff. It's like, well, the thing is, we just got to prepare for the next time when elections come up, or when the presidential election comes up next year. We gotta prepare ourselves for that. We lost this battle. We're going to take the next battle to and try harder to at least win the next set of elections next year. So what do you hear when these people, say that how we're going to react, and they act exactly the way they said that we were? Like, basically they were reflecting how they were going to react, not how we are going to react. Because I hate to tell you, if I would have lost, not me personally, but if Trump would have lost the election and it ended up being Hillary Clinton, what can I do about it? It's like, well, it's over now. I would have been really depressed, but I'm not going to go around and starting riots and punching people out and say, this was, probably it would have been if it would have happened. This was fixed, and that Hillary Clinton, which was probably true too. I wouldn't go around though and make a big deal out of it and say, well, you know what? She basically stole votes from people. She bought her way into the White House. I wouldn't even have had the energy to do that. Would I have bitched and complained? Yeah, to certain friends, but that's about all I would have done. I wouldn't have taken it as far as some of these people have been doing. So, yeah, I promised myself I'm just going to try to get through this tonight. The one guy at work, he said he wanted to do a podcast with me live, and if it happens, that would be really good. This guy Dave at work, he's a nice guy. He's a good-looking guy. He's very intelligent. Is it going to happen? I don't know. I thought it was probably this week, and quite honestly, I'm glad it didn't, because I was very tired from not sleeping, and I had to deal with my car today. It cost me almost like $400 and almost close to $500, or like $488, and it really wasn't that much done. There was nothing wrong. It was just normal wear and tear. Unfortunately, I have a foreign car. I have a Volkswagen that, it's a Tiguan, and it was made in Germany. That car was actually built and constructed in Germany. So I don't know if that's part of the reason. And my dad says, oh, you shouldn't buy foreign cars like that. It's like, you own 2 foreign cars. He owns Maximas. Or no, is it a Maxima? And the Nissan cars. And the Altima. One of those. I think he has both. But it's like, dude, your parts on your car are just as expensive. But he goes to these shabby fly-by-night mechanics that end up breaking more than they fix. And I really can't deal with that. I'll spend extra money just to have peace of mind. My car is the 2012, and trust me, when I bought it pre-owned, and it's in better shape now than when I first bought it. In fact, it runs beautiful. So why would I want to buy some piece of crap that is going to fall apart just because it's cheaper? Well, you're going to spend more money on repair bills. So anyway, I'm going way too far with that. I saw this interesting story. I post everything on my Facebook page. And this was actually kind of like an up note for me, because normally I don't have anything to say that's positive. Oh, sorry about that. I just banged. It's so sensitive, this mic. It was from Como News, and it says, Conestoga huts for homeless, a solution for the Northwest. And it was like, wow, this is actually a really neat idea. And what it is, if you're not familiar with what a Conestoga was, I saw the word. I was like, oh, that says Conestoga hut. And it does kind of look like this, but I never knew that's what these were called. But if you look at, when you watch old Westerns and you see those wagon train, or they call them, there was wagon trains, which was a bunch of wagons, horse-driven. And, the people would go from the east to the west in these Western shows, obviously. And they would have all their belongings in something, and that thing in the back that was covered, the covered wagon, is called a Conestoga. I didn't know that. So somebody came up with the idea. They said it's actually cheaper to make Conestoga huts, which aren't that bad looking. For homeless people, all they have to do, it's like a community of homeless homes that are simple to put up. They're not that expensive, and it takes people out of the damp, the cold, and the wet, and it gives them a roof over their head. And it's not a very big one. It says it's only 60 square feet, but it's an indoor living space, and the people seem like they are more motivated than that they have some type of living quarters to actually better themselves and get themselves, because there was one guy they interviewed, and he got himself a very nice-looking apartment, because he had something that, was a little bit more uplifting than putting a tarp over in the middle of the street. I mean, at least it's a communal thing where people seem a little bit like they have some type of belonging to a community, as opposed to just being thrown out, because they're homeless people. But this makes it look and feel like you actually have a small home. So, yeah, it says the Conestoga huts are stronger and more permanent than tents, and are about $2,500, much less expensive than teeny homes, because apparently, I guess the other alternative to the just putting a tarp or a tent up for homeless people were built in these tiny homes, which, hey, don't get me wrong, some of those tiny homes looked pretty sweet. I would probably go for one of those, 'cause eventually I'm going to have to decide what I need to do with my life if something, God forbid, happens to my parents. So they said, though, the tiny homes, the only drawback is they're about $10,000 to $20,000 a piece. And they're basically in my opinion, they're very nice looking, but they're kind of like glorified forts. When you were a kid, you made a fort, but these are homes for homeless people, so they aren't homeless, and it gives them more motivation. The huts are only $2,500, which is a bit of money, but at least the people are on the streets, and again, it gives them a little bit more of a home environment feel. So they look pretty damn cool, too. Would I want to live in one of these? Well, if I was on the street, I would really probably take this over being out in the ice cold. So, yeah, I thought that was really cool. And they said they're very easy to put together. And people are, like, very excited. And it's kind of like for a person that's homeless, not only is it much better, but it's it's cozy for them. They're not out in the ice cold. And, I guess they put facilities, like, for them to wash up, too, because I thought I saw an outhouse. Not inside the hut, because there's no room. But again, that's really cool. Probably what I'm going to try to do, so I'm not like just trying to, I got all these, because I do got a lot of stories up. What I should really do is kind of just pick and choose, and when it gets to the hour mark, just stop there if I actually make it that far. Because sometimes I say, I don't know what I'm going to talk about, and then I talk for a good hour or something like that. And, yeah, I'm not going to do that because I'm already like 20 minutes in, and I'm trying to keep them consistent with as close to an hour as possible. Now, if I have a guest on, like the one guy I worked with, Paul, he says he wants to do another podcast like around the holidays. And I said, you know what, that'd be really awesome, and I kind of uplift my spirits. And if the guy Dan at work does one too, hey, if you guys, if you even listen to this podcast and you want to make it, trust me, I'm not going to put a timestamp that, hey, Dan or Paul, you needed to talk for only 1 hour. Forget that. I mean, I'm going to throw that out the window. I mean, sometimes when I'm really upset, I'll talk for hours on end, and nobody really cares to listen to my shows when they go ridiculously long. So, hey, one side note, it was funny. I was tempted to do this. I know it's probably just boredom, but it also is a lot of curiosity, too. Excuse me, I had to get that out. But I saw this thing I saw this thing online for one thing. I should have put that article in there. I did not put it on my list of stories. So anyway, there's this thing, GoFundMe kind of thing. It's the other one, Indigo. And somebody, like, I saw it from these stories on YouTube. This guy's, like, really cool on tech savvy stuff. This guy's name's Linus. It literally is Linus. I'm not making it up. So Linus, like, has a lot of followers. He makes good amount of money off his YouTube videos, if I have not mentioned that at this point. So Linus, like, did a segment on his YouTube on these mock-up cases that are coming out from these new Mac Pros that are coming out from Apple. Well, the Apple computers are coming out, the new Mac Pros. They're going to, like, try to convince you, well, they're only $6,500, which for you and I, that's like buying a car. But $6,500 is really just basically you're buying a bare bones case system that basically is meant for professionals anyhow to do, like, editing for film and radio production, real radio, not what I do. So, but the actual price it costs to set up one of these computers that Mac's put out, the new Mac Pro for 2019 desktop, you're talking more, because I've seen in a couple articles, I may have mentioned this before, but you're talking like $50,000. I'm not even joking. That's actually what it's going to cost to run it decently. So who in the world is going to spend on a desktop computer that even at its longest lifespan, if you're lucky, is going to last about 20 years if you're lucky. So even at 20 years, you're still spending an arm and a leg on a computer, and most computers don't last 20 years, but they also don't cost $50,000 at the same time. So that's a lot of money. I mean, if you think about it, if you really want to be like, well, I remember when I was this age, like when I was in my 20s or my teens, my parents bought a house for like $50,000. The house we live in, they bought for $50,000. So now the most you can buy is an Apple computer for $50,000. That's really sad. So, but if you're a director like Kevin Smith or somebody else, probably $50,000 is not that bad, or somebody else who makes movies that cost a couple $1 million. So anyway, hey, I have a side note on that. I heard that most of your cable networks, I heard this on Glenn Beck the other day, are kind of withering away. Like cable networks are kind of withering away. And the reason is because I didn't think it was going to take off, but a lot of these you buy what you want to watch kind of deal is actually been pretty solid. Like people get tired of all these. You pay like I think now when I lived in my apartment, I paid like I think $20 or $50 for cable, and that was for everything. Now you got to pay $200 for basic cable and a couple other things, unless you just get internet, like broadband. So anyway, he was saying like some of these new shows that are coming out for like Star Wars by the Disney streaming network. He said that there was one that's like a spinoff or something that's a prequel or something that deals with Boba Fett. He said that the episodes are phenomenal, but each episode cost almost $100 million just to make one episode. So I'm not even joking. Yeah. So he says there's quite a few different shows that are made for, do you pay for the streaming service like Netflix and stuff, but they're paying to make these shows and to draw people in. They're spending almost at least per episode about 20, maybe a couple million to like 20 million to $100 million an episode. So that's crazy. But the thing is, people are going that direction. They're kind of tired of a bunch of nonsense cable stations you're never going to probably watch anyway. Quite honestly, I only watch one cable or one channel, and it's over the airways. I just can't get it, so I basically siphon it off my parents' cable because I don't have cable. But I siphon off their line, and it's only Me TV. That's it. I try to watch other channels, and I don't watch anything else. It's just a waste of my time. And I got plenty of movies and streaming network services. I really don't need cable otherwise. So anyway, I've already, I went pretty far with that, and I could talk for another millennium. I could talk for another 100 years with this kind of stuff, but nobody wants to hear me for even another probably 30 minutes. But that's what I have left. So anyway, I got up early twice this week. I had some meetings I had to go to early in the morning at work, and I wanted to make sure I'm on time. I'm trying to be not tardy because I was a bit in the beginning. And the job I have now, I've had for over a year. I was a temp at first, but now I'm a permanent worker, and I'm under probation. So I have another month and change left on my probation, and I don't want to screw that up. So anyway, I was listening to Glenn Beck, and I actually got to one day, I got up early enough, I got to listen almost to Glenn Beck's entire show, which is kind of like unusual for me. Because I'm on like this schedule where I'm nocturnal, and I'm up all night, and then I sleep up to the moment I got to go to work, which is not a very good idea. So, but I end up doing it over and over again. So I had to break that pattern this week. So anyway, I have it up. It's on the Blaze if you have that. I don't particularly have the Blaze network, but Glenn Beck, and some other really good talk show hosts. But what I do have is, which I recommend to some people, is iHeartRadio. I was never a big fan of iHeartRadio, but I listened to Ken Matthews, Rush Limbaugh, Glenn Beck, and a couple other folks that are conservative talk show hosts. And I can get all of that stuff and more under iHeartRadio. Now, unfortunately, Apple charges you because they have an app for iHeart on the Apple phone. Well, they charge you like $10 a month, and trust me, it's worth it. But otherwise, iHeartRadio for most people, like I guess you have a Google phone, it would be free. Now, the nice thing about iHeartRadio, though, is, one, you get all these shows, but it includes in my subscription that I pay through Apple. I also do get the Blaze as well. So, hey, why would I fight the system with that one? I get that. I get these shows that otherwise I'd have to purchase individually. I'm paying $10 for it. And that also includes Rush Limbaugh because Rush is great, but it's like $60 a year. And I actually was getting as well, because he only does podcasts now. Well, Rush does podcasts. Glenn Beck does podcasts. Is the other talk show host who got fired from Fox, and Bill O'Reilly. And I like Bill, but I paid for one season. It was like $50, and then he started creeping up his price for his podcast, and was like, I can't afford this. So, if I paid for every different talk show host I want to listen to, that would cost me a lot more money than $10 a month. So I'd rather just pay that $10 a month and be done with it, because I do listen to, with the exception of today, because my day was all screwed up, I'll listen to shows when I get ready for work, and then the weekend when I get up, I listen to a couple hours of talk shows. And that's basically my day. And I try to listen to different shows. So anyway, what I'm trying to get to, boy, I'm long-winded tonight. I'm sorry. Well, actually, when am I not long-winded is more like it. So he had a guest on, and at first it was like, okay, I guess I'm going to be turning off Glenn Beck today. But I kept it on, and he had this guest host on named Rabbi Daniel Lapin. I believe that's how you say his last name. And the guy was really good. In fact, it's funny because I heard the word rabbi in the beginning, so because he is a rabbi. But the guy's got a British accent. He's from the U.S. apparently, so obviously he wasn't originally from the U.S., but he's got that proper. Well, you don't know, but if you watch older shows, like when I watched Doctor Who back in the 70s and I watched the 60s show, most of the British actors on those television programs like Doctor Who from England, All Creatures Great and Small, I'm trying to think what else, the British actors had proper English. You could understand everything they said. They had an accent to us, but you could totally understand everything they said. It wasn't that kind of Aussie accent that is heavily heard of in a lot of new television programs from England, which kind of drives me a little bit insane sometimes. And yes, that's a very short drive. I've used that joke so many times it's completely dead in the water. But Rabbi Daniel, his accent is that proper English, which is great because it doesn't irritate me that way. But he's actually had some really, I'm looking at some of his episodes. He's got a lot of episodes. He's actually got one on Greta Thunberg. I had some guy at work laughing so hard, but I said, oh yeah, I'd like to meet Greta Thunberg and make her my, my mentor or something. The guy laughed so hard, people were turning around at where I work, and I didn't even think it was that funny. So, yeah, Rabbi Daniel Lapin, I'm going to say Lapin, it's probably totally wrong. He is incredible. The guy, and he's very not religious, but his religious aspect is not what I would expect. It's more of, I guess, a guy at work told me what it's considered, but he's more of he's definitely a conservative, like an ultra-conservative, but more what I would expect to hear from a Christian point of view. And yet he is, he's a rabbi, so he's Jewish, but he's a Jewish person. I was going to say a Jew, and somebody might get offended by that. But a Jewish guy that actually speaks, about biblical things that I would have heard when I was going to church in Sunday school. So he's more of a Christian set-based kind of, I forget what it's called, but Jewish guy. But it's not really about the Christian part that it intrigues me, because I'm not really I don't follow theology that closely, but it's just his perspective on politics that is just draws you in. I mean, this guy is great. So yeah, despite me, and I'm looking, he's actually got stuff, I believe, segments probably, let's see, on Facebook, Twitter, which nobody really has that I know. But you probably can even find him, I'm sure you can find some stuff on the man on YouTube, and I've listened to a couple of his podcasts that weren't even affiliated with The Blaze, nor with what is the other thing you would probably try to listen to, like some shows. Let me see. Subscribe. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, SoundCloud, and Stitcher. He's on all of those. But I thought I saw him also on YouTube. Yeah, let me see. Follow us. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. But that's for Blaze Media, but I think the Rabbi's on there too. But the funniest thing that Rabbi Daniel said that really just got to me, and I was laughing too, because the man, like, obviously he speaks very intelligently, but he was talking about like how like these Democrats and these liberals, he compared them, like he actually did a comparison. I think it was Glenn who did this more so on the religious part of it. That if you look at the Old Testament and you compare it to the Old World and the New World, the Old World is from the Bible. The New World is the New World, meaning United States. And he did some comparisons. I think that was more Glenn, but then Rabbi Daniel went into some stuff saying, yeah, years ago, he said something on the lines where body piercings were basically from thieves. Thieves would use a lot of body piercings. And he said those people weren't very intelligent. They would steal from other people, but they would use like these body piercings almost as a calling card or something else, or a mark on how they're tough and what they stole. I guess somehow they were marks of achievement through these body piercings. He said people now do that nowadays that do that stuff, like these savages that would steal, or these thieves from back in the years ago, or centuries ago, are basically not very intelligent people. And then he had taken it one step further. That's what made me laugh. He said you got people that are in their 30s who are like basically have a mind of a 3-year-old. And this came from something on that line. It came from Rabbi Daniel, and it was like, it's like, you know what, I got to really listen to this guy. So I did tell a guy at work who is very religious, I told him, yeah, you got to check out this Rabbi Daniel. I'm going to keep on saying his name over and over again. I'm going to continue to say it wrong probably. Lapin. It's Lapin. So how would you pronounce that? But the bottom line is check him out because he's really good. That's what I want to say. And I think I have numerous times already in the last 20 minutes because I actually only have like 20 minutes left now. So, yeah, that was like a very I think things happen sometimes for a reason, and that was one of them. It's like, because I did bookmark him to try to listen to his shows. And in fact, at this point, I think I will be listening to him even on the weekends. If there's nothing else on, I'll just pull up and listen to one of his older shows because they're really good. They are, they will grasp and harness you in, like they will pull you in. So anyway, when I finished my podcast last week, this always has happened in the past. It still continues to happen. But then I find stories I want to talk about, and one of them was right around where I live. It said Monco man found dead on Schuylkill River Trail. State police had, made a statement about this. Well, I just said statement. Montgomery County, PA, a missing Montgomery County man was found dead along the Schuylkill River Trail state, while James Simpson, 55, of Perkiomenville, was found in Union Township in Berks County late Monday night. So that's kind of freaky because we have a guy that he takes his bike into work, and he says he saves money on gas, but he's traveling like 9 miles a day when he takes his bike in. Here wear like his bike pants. He's got a really sweet looking bicycle. When I say bike, and it's good exercise, but it's like, dude, you take your hands into your life in your own hands by driving these roads because they're out of control with all these people now. So, yeah, it's gotten really dangerous around here, and it's gotten to the point even everybody that did not want to admit to it before are now admitting that, Yeah, it's gotten a little out of hand with the amount of people in this area, and they're very aggressive. Very, very aggressive. My dad was on the phone tonight complaining to somebody. He says, yeah, he's seen some guy like, and it's always with these people, these very expensive cars who moved in this area, who drive extremely, and I do mean this, extremely recklessly, going like 70 miles an hour in a 25-mile zone. And I wish I was making this stuff up, but I'm not. So my dad was talking to some guy, a friend of his from our old job, on the phone tonight, and he was saying just that. He said, yeah, this guy was like, it's generally these people that have these, he used a little bit of inappropriate slang on the guy, the way his car was decked out. And I think Matt would laugh because he probably knows what I'm thinking or what I would say, which I can't and shouldn't, so I won't. But he was using a little bit of that kind of verbiage, my dad. And the guy was like, a lot of these people are actually even older people too, who are just extremely, extremely dangerous on the road. They should not be on the road. And I've heard this more than once from not only my father but other people, how it's gotten so progressively bad. You got people who are very upset, driving really, really over the speed limit, like dangerously over the speed limit. And if that's not enough, blowing their horn and even trying to pass you on double yellow lines. That is the new thing I've noticed too. That's the new phase around here. And I actually won past. I used to be a member years ago through my parents for this club, swimming pool club. Matt, I think you were, for Markley's Pool. Well, what does this have to do with anything? Well, Markley's wanted to put a YMCA or sell to the YMCA. The township shot it down. They said, no, we don't want. It's gonna create a problem. Too many cars. If you put a YMCA in, it's like, really? Okay, so what do you want to do with it? Well, they wanted more tax revenue, so they end up selling it to a housing development thing, and they put so many homes now that I've heard this from numerous people. Our water pressure is just god awful. The amount of traffic has quadrupled, I would say, and that creates a lot of issues around here. But I went past her today, and there was like a little left of what used to be the remnants of the swimming pool and where you used to park your car. Well, now that is completely homes. So that's like really scary. And by the way, I'm running out of time really quickly, so I got to kind of speed up the pace. And just kind of say, you know what, that's all for tonight. But anyway, that was once the story before I just mentioned about Markley's Pool, about the guy getting killed. That I found that story right after I was done doing my podcast. But then it was kind of funny. Another story that popped up the next day was the story from the Limerick Patch, and it was in Phoenixville. Like, I go to Phoenixville to go see old classic horror movies, and there's movie marathons with Matt. So they had a problem over it, and I know right where this place is. It's called Tai Chi. I'm looking at the sign, something center, and I've seen it. It's a massage parlor. And there's always that joke, well, do you get happy endings at a massage parlor? Well, apparently this one you did. Tai Chi Gifts. I've seen it. I've walked past this place a million times. So it says 2 charged with prostitution at the Phoenixville massage parlor, and that was on, this was this past Monday. So, yeah, it was these 2 Asian women. They both got arrested after undercover cops were staking out the place, and they were seeing that these women were taking cash for sex. So, sexual favors and things. So, it just this area alone has gotten so really kind of like depressing, because it's really I don't know. So anyway, I seen this story on Newtown Patch. There's a thing called the Patch, and I thought this was kind of funny, but it says new PA hospital safety ratings released 8 get D grade. 8 hospitals in Pennsylvania get the D grade because they're horrible. So there's more than 8 hospitals here, but 8 of them got a D grade. I don't think the other ones. Pennsylvania, 8 Pennsylvania hospitals received a letter D grade for hospital safety according to the new Fall 29 ratings released Thursday by Leapfrog Group. In the same analysis, 56 hospitals in the Keystone State received a grade A, 32 got a B, and 27 got a C. Grades range from A to F. So I wonder if any of them got a rated F. So it's all the hospitals in Pennsylvania on this article. And that's all I'm going to read on that story because the time's going to go really quick now. So a couple other stories, one from the Washington Times. Now what I do is I go through stories, and if it's like a newspaper article, then I link it to my Twitter and my Facebook, and mainly Facebook is where I pull the stories off, because I'll see one interesting story, link it to my Facebook, sign up for it, and tell them, okay, if there's more stories from this news source, send them right to my Facebook, and that's how I get these stories. That's how I make my podcast. So the Washington Times at one point, obviously it was one that I probably pulled, or they just saw it as an interest of, something that was an interest to me. So they said no harm with a question mark, so I didn't do a very good job with that. Most illegals in Mississippi ICE raids stole American identities. It says, it could be more than that, but it says 680 illegal immigrants nabbed in August. Immigration raids at poultry plants in Mississippi worked under stolen American identities. 680 illegal immigrants. So the next time you think that these people are harmless, I would probably kind of tell you should really reconsider your thoughts on that that way of thinking. Because you may think that, these illegals are just trying to make a living. They're not harming anybody. Yeah, they actually are. They're taking somebody's ID away from them. So I just want to let you know, because some people just don't understand that, especially if you're from the left. This is another thing. North Penn Now, local paper thing or source of news online. Man caught on a surveillance camera attempting to enter a parked vehicle in Telemedicine. So that there's been story after story this past week on this issue of people, particular individuals breaking into people's car in like Lansdale and also in Collegeville, I believe. Oh, here is one that this alone is enough to make me very happy. I hope this all recorded because my thing just shut down. I hope I didn't lose anything. Hey, real quick, because my screensaver thing came up on my recording device, so we might have lost some stuff. But I am running my podcast on Linux Mint. And it was like, you know what, I hear a lot about, because I know I use Apple products. I use an Apple desktop with OS X, whatever it is at this point, but it's called OS X. But it basically is running FreeBSD Darwin. FreeBSD is Unix. So I was like always wondering, because I'm doing a side note real quick because I'm running out of time. Hey, I wonder if I could run FreeBSD, because I understand FreeBSD is great. It's rock solid, has really no problems, but I don't know anything about Unix. Linux is a lot more user-friendly than Unix. Linux is more friendly. So anyway, then I find out that, hey, now Unix has jumped on board with their FreeBSD to make ones that are just as idiot simple as the ones Linux has been doing for years. And they've been doing this for a while. I just never knew that. So I was like, at one point, I was like, you know what? I wonder if I should just try to run FreeBSD, but then I don't want to torch everything on the laptop that I have Linux running on, because I've never really had any issues with it. And that's the same thing almost with. There is some issues with Darwin or meaning Mac OS, because Mac tries to really put too much sugarcoat on top of the OS, and it creates a lot of problems lately. So that's the problems, because it's probably equivalent to like the OS that's running on your iPhones, folks. It's kind of the same thing. I'm sure it's like some type of Unix running on that too, I'm sure. So anyway, I've been saying this until I've been like blue in the face. Not that I ever expect to get any response back. Yeah, I actually do, but I never do. And I tell people repeatedly that eventually, all these Democrats are going to, which they are. I got to find that story because I'm running out of time and make sure I fit that in before anything else gets canned tonight. That the Democrats and these liberals are moving out of California, New York, New Jersey, and other areas that are heavily Democratic states. One guy said, well, hey, at work, he said Delaware, for the first time, elected a Democrat in almost, I guess, over 200 years. They've actually elected a Democrat that was always Republican since the beginning of this country. And I said to him really nicely, well, you know what that is? These liberals, I didn't say it that way. I'm saying it this way on my radio show. These liberals are moving out of these high-tax states, ones that they created themselves. They created this nightmare for themselves. And they're moving to places like in areas in PA, Texas, and like other states that did not have high taxes, Delaware. And I said, mark my word, because I know this will probably happen. Do you really notice? No, but I'm sure it will happen. How's that? That eventually you're going to see a change in a tax-free state such as Delaware, where they're going to start to actually incorporate taxes on stuff. And not only that, but raise taxes. I said this, though, about Pennsylvania. This is where I'm trying to get to. I said, mark my word, the more people that move in from New York down to here in California into this state, into this area that I live, that the taxes are going to creep up. And what's going to eventually happen, they're going to get so expensive that these New Yorkers that live here now, or other folks that are like Democrats or liberals, are going to say, you know what? I'm tired of this shit. I'm paying all this money for what? I'm just going to move back to wherever I came from. And I guarantee that's going to happen once they basically destroy this area. And then plus you got these money-hungry developers who way overdeveloped this area that I live in. So anyway, North Penn now had a story on November 7th that says, is that November 7th? Okay, I just wanted to check myself. Lansdale 2020 budget proposal, I'm spitting into the mic. Okay, let me reread that. Lansdale 2020 budget proposal includes a $250,000 real estate tax increase. Whoa, let me think for a minute. Didn't I say that eventually that they're going to, well, hey, if they're building all these homes, you really shouldn't have the problem of making extra tax revenue because you got more people living here. Well, if the people that you're getting in here are all liberals and Democrats, yeah, that's going to change. And it's not going to happen over a small period of time where thought it was going to go the other direction, meaning the one guy that Matt kind of sends my way once in a while, Tim Pool. I think it's going to go the opposite direction, that the more millennials, these liberals and these Democrats that are moving into the suburbs, and not only into the suburbs, but moving out of the city of New York and places, when they move around here, they're it's that old saying, even for young people, because I'm going to say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. But you can't teach these dummies any new tricks, because all they're going to do, and I think this is what happened, is they're voting Democrat. So now it's going to be a tax increase of $250,000. Now, how's that trickled down? Not that much, actually, for all the people that live here. But the point is, it is happening, and that's alone should raise a red flag. Does it? Probably not, because people are just idiots. Okay, there was another story that I wanted that would kind of support this point. Oh, here's another one. I don't think this is the one I was looking for, but I am going to throw it in here because I'm running out. I got 6 minutes left. I'm going to try to keep my word. Story from KUTV I found. New York City is secretly shipping homeless people to Utah and other states. Salt Lake City, KUTV, as Utah's homeless fill up Salt Lake County's new shelters, we're learning that some of these people are being shipped to, Salt Lake City, but that's what it actually says, but they're being shipped out of New York. People are being shipped to Utah from New York City, all without the state's knowledge, according to the report from the New York Post, which is a bunch of bullshit. So I misread that, but the bottom line is I should reread what I misread. That Utah is now filling up with more homeless people because New York City is shipping out their people because they don't want to deal with all these homeless people. Now, here is the part, and I'm leaving it go at this. Forgotten Families called New York's response to DHS scandal 3,000 families. New York isn't just focusing on Utah to ship all their homeless people. This is what it's saying. However, the city is disappearing its homeless population across 373 cities nationwide. And they said they're taking them out of like the Bronx. There was once, families coming out of the Bronx and some other areas that are homeless. So they're relocating these homeless people in other cities and other states. And guess where? One of them must be, because I see it all the time, but nobody wants to hear it. So I won't answer that because I'll just get reprimanded for telling the truth. So anyway, I am going to keep my promise because I got a couple of minutes left, so I'm going to try to keep this going and cut it off at that time, with or without these stories being finished. Anyway, this was a funny story, just on the side note, because I just digging through my pile of stories, but it's called Big Think website. Yale scientists restore cellular function in 32 dead pig brains. So pigs that were dead for a matter of hours were resuscitated with some reaction, like reanimating, whatever you want to call that, like in those horror movies. Part of their brain stimulus, bringing them back alive, like in those zombie movies. So maybe this will be a real thing. Maybe we will have a, one of these, I'm going to say this word wrong. Matt will laugh at me and even probably correct me, but a post-apocalyptic type situation where we will have zombies coming back from the dead when you like screw with God's chain of commands of like you live, you're born, you live, you die. Well, now people want to try to resuscitate the dead. Really great thing to do. So that story. Anyway, the Daily Mail had this story. I heard about it. A guy at work said, "You didn't hear about this?" And I was like, "No, I didn't." About those people, those Mormons who were killed by the drug cartel in Mexico. Like these people that are Mormons who travel back and forth from Mexico to the U.S. were brutally killed, and it was also children. That was a story that I'm not going to go into because of my lack of time left. But that was one that is really, really kind of scary. Already, I might actually go against my thing of... Okay, I'm sorry about that. Because there was a couple stories I do want to kind of talk about. And I want to at least mention the titles and let you do the rest kind of thing. But I don't know if I can get them in any order. So one was a story about Penn Live, Pennsylvania, and it was GOP officials file legal action in PA after massive voting machine malfunction, ballots placed in suitcase. So once again, you have this problem in Pennsylvania, and probably I heard other areas where the Democrats are raising a fist on that this was not fair, that the even after they won most of these elections, it wasn't good enough for them. But York, Pennsylvania, York County, Pennsylvania, and a couple other areas in PA, they were saying that there was problems with the voting booths again. And they weren't even voting booths. They have this new system set up, which in Pennsylvania was set up by our, I believe it was our governor-elect, which I don't like, a Wolf. I believe it's Wolf. I saw that somewhere. I don't see it in this story here. He's the one after the last election, like, oh, this is so unfair. Or, Republicans won unjustly. So they put this whole new system in, which is really just is crazy. And the reason they did that because Pennsylvania did it especially. There's other states that did it just because they felt that the votes weren't counted fairly or there was a problem with the voting booths that it favored Republicans. Once again, the crybabies stepped forth for this election that just happened this past week. Anyway, I'm going to go really quick because it is after 1 hour, and I'm going to I'm going to lie a little bit, but at the same time, I'm going to get this through like zip-de-doo-dah really fast. That made no sense what I just said. The LA Post, Democrats caught stealing votes against, mayor arrested in sanctuary state. That was in the LA Post, so just remember, LA Post. Okay, let me cut these out. Jihad stabs 3 Canadian soldiers. Canadian court sends him to college. So, don't you love that front page magazine? There was a story. Jihad stabs 3 Canadian soldiers and gets a free ticket ride through college in Canada. I'm just going to, go through these as quickly as possible because it is after the hour once again. Amazon stops carrying these shirts for little girls, little kids, like tweens, and they got busted for this. Amazon was carrying shirts that had the verbiage on there, the wording that said, Daddy's Little Slut. It's T-shirts that were pissed off a lot of people, without a doubt. You're talking about pedophiles and everything like that, but yet you're selling T-shirts on Amazon that had Daddy's Little Slut. That's not even remotely funny. So, whatever. Probably it is a bunch of perverted people that wanted those shirts being sold on there in the first place. I don't know. So anyway, Limerick, Royersford, Spring City, PA. There was a story in Pennsylvania again. Monco, where I live, Monco area, Montgomery County. Lawyer suspended for 1 year in a $4.2 million fraud case. So that's a story I'm going to read because I can't read these at this point because I did run out of time. I should be off the air. Another story from North Penn. Sears at Montgomery Mall to close in February. So there is a store that my friend works at. Who lives in Wilkes-Barre. My friend Todd, he works for Office Depot. And that was announced to them, but in the next 2 years, they will be closing down. I apologize, not laying off. They're going to be closing down 90 stores. So I think a lot of this pertains to more shopping from people is being done online. And why? Because there's no customer service in these stores, for one thing. You can't go into a store and have somebody actually treat you like a human being as a customer. I know this. I've heard it from other people. So, and you can shop at home in your underwear, and you don't have to deal with some smart-ass sales rep who's going to treat you like a piece of dirt when you can get it shipped to the house for freaking free on Amazon. So who would not do that? So, and plus these smart-asses want $15 an hour, which is another thing. They just basically shot themselves in the foot by complaining about, well, I should get for flipping a hamburger at McDonald's $15 an hour. Well, you can do that, but you're going to be out of a job, and so will everybody else. All your deadbeat friends are, too. Because I've gone into Walmart, I swear, and I hate going there anymore, and I see these degenerates who work there with their pants, hanging off their ass, these guys, and they're texting on their cell phone. You can't get any decent customer service at these freaking places, I swear. So, congratulations, you morons, because you've just worked yourself out of a job. So, whatever. Anyway, Breitbart actually had a story, and I should kind of cut it off there. I think I will. Story, it's titled, Poll, Nearly 6-in-1 in Florida. Florida. It doesn't say Florida. It says Floridines, people from Florida, oppose driver's license for illegal aliens. Almost 6 in 10 voters in Florida say that they oppose giving driver's license to illegal aliens in the state. Well, that is good because we got too many. I've seen it. I went for my driver's license. I do not live in Florida. I live in Pennsylvania. The last time I had to go for a photo ID, there was a guy there, and it was very suspicious. But you got a lot of these areas that they give licenses, like California, for instance, driver's license. It says about 59% of all voters in Florida said that they oppose the latest push by the Open Borders lobby to provide driver's license to all eligible illegal aliens. How is an illegal alien eligible? That's what it says of the state's nearly 800,000. That's what it says, illegal population. So Florida has a population of illegal immigrants of 800,000. Meanwhile, less than 40% of the Florida people, because it says that Floridines again, said they supported giving driver's license to illegal immigrants. Half of all swing voters said, they oppose driver's license for illegal aliens, while a minority of 42% of the swing voters support such policy. Well, I hate to tell you, probably that minority group of people, that's a lot of people, though, 42%. I will guarantee you that they're illegal themselves. Because if you got 800,000 people in Florida that are there as illegal immigrants, that is a large percentage of people. So anyway, I am going to cut this off, by the way. But I forgot one of my favorite stories, people or shows, did have a story. So you know where I go with that. I'm going to talk about it. And, oh, wow, that was a neat story, too. But before that, there was a story also from, those Halloween shops called Spirit? Well, Spirit had 2 men accused of stealing from the Spirit Halloween store. So the story originally opened up, and then they had taken it down. So all I could get, Terrence Macy, 30, and Tarif Williams, 30, both from Philadelphia, were caught stealing, and it turned into more, I guess, like more of a serious offense, stealing from a freaking Halloween shop. So, I mean, it probably turned into, because the story was taken down, it kind of led to me to believe it was more of like a, what do you call it? Like probably more of a dangerous situation, meaning weapons were probably involved too. So anyway, enough of that nonsense. I'm done with that. I'm going to delete that story screenshot that I did because I couldn't open the story. Now, of my interest, which will make this go into an extra hour. No, it's not, because I am going to finish it afterwards. HBO Max deal reveals plans for Series 13 and 14 of Doctor Who. So that really caught my attention. This one I would love to read from beginning to end because it is really short, but I won't because I'm not going to torture you anymore. So, yeah, and then I saw some other story on Doctor Who. There's a lot of stories from Doctor Who TV is the name of the website, or doctorwhotv.co.uk. So HBO is putting some money into, and apparently BBC has done this before, where they're going to sign and pay for the streaming service of both Series 13, not Season 13, but Series 13 and 14, which they're not sure at this point if it is going to include my new favorite Doctor Who, because I really like her, of Jodie Whittaker. There could be a possibility that it will not. But I hope it does. Jodie, I hope not that you're going to listen to this, but I hope it does. Anyway, I see the face of this guy who would be really cool. I don't know how cool it would be. But the actor who played in that prequel to Psycho, that TV series. It was called Bates Motel. That actor who played Norman Bates. Looks like they're going to try to get him to play a young Doctor Who, being in, like, you know, how there was the young Sherlock Holmes and TV shows and young Indiana Jones, where now they want to probably, it looks like, I will bookmark this and put it on my Facebook and Twitter page. How about a teenage doctor, question mark afterwards, which is kind of appropriate, has that actor, which I don't know his name, standing behind in front of a police box. So I didn't really read this story, so I can't go into it, but it just definitely caught my attention. And it definitely is something I will probably talk about in the near future. So everyone, thanks a lot. Sorry, I keep on walking away from the mic. Well, not walking away, moving away from the mic. Have a good night. It's Walter from iWalter. Signing off for now.